We're talking about Africa's backwardness. It's all one major backwardness is lack of electric energy. Our industries cannot function, we cannot develop anything, and we cannot claim to be away from importing unless we have our electricity countrywide coverage.
Address the issue of electricity so that the issues of our development could also be addressed, because it creates employment, it creates growth, productivity, etc. With the lack of electricity, all those things cannot take place.
Let us also not forget the fact that some important developments have taken place in this country. Some people's lives depend on this energy supply. Mr. Speaker, there are people, a lot of people, huge number of people are making efforts to make ends meet by using energy supply.
The majority leader and member for Sarakunda is Honorable Fabakary Tombong Jatta underscored the importance government attaches to the provision of affordable electricity supply in the country. Speaker after speaker rose to add their voices to the debates.
Generally, the whole of Africa had its problem, economic bondage. And the question now is, how are we paddling ourselves out of this economic bondage? And that's where the Gambia is coming up with this strategy laid before us here.
Everybody is requested now to take electricity and water to their various households. And yet this is the company that nobody is siding with per se to help, per se only the Gambia government. Directly the Gambia government. Because I am saying this due to a recent experience we saw on TV. When NAWEC went to the general public through PURA to discuss about their conditions and request for an increase in their tariff, and it was turned down.
Is this sustainable? This conventional system of electricity. You go to the West now, they are talking about renewable. Renewable energy is number one, very, very sustainable.
We are transiting. It's a transition. We are going to go to the next stage of fuel that is cheaper. That might be gas, which is going to be also a bigger range. We'll be talking about 50 megawatts sets, not 10 megawatt sets anymore. And then maybe we will go nuclear.
The Finance and Economic Affairs Minister, Mambu Njai, was again given the floor for the second time to respond to some of the issues raised by the deputies before the House unanimously adopted the loans and grants financing agreements laid before them. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Abdoulaye Bojan, adjourned the House until September the 8th, 2011. Mama J, GRTS.
The Integrated National Policy and Action Plan on the Prevention of Non-Communicable Diseases is being reviewed at a synergy organized by the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare in collaboration with the West African Health Organization and the WHO. Means of curbing the high mortality and morbidity rates, as Babakar Kamal reports, are at the top of the agenda.
About the NCD policy review and validation. Already we have a draft policy which was developed I can say 1 year ago, but the whole process started around 2009 when WAHO, in collaboration with WHO, organized a meeting in Burkina Faso, and the focal points were invited so that we can see how best we can come together to develop NCD policy and action plan.
It is the 3-day synergy set to review, validate and develop the non-communicable disease policy and action plan.
When we say NCD, we are talking of 50 different diseases or conditions. But according to WHO and WAHO, 50 different conditions or diseases, there are many. But the major NCDs, diabetes, hypertension, cancers, and chronic respiratory infection.
The Minister of Health and Social Welfare is pleased to have this document ready in a short possible time to guide our action towards the effective and efficient measure of NCD prevention and control in the Gambia.
The NCD integrated policy has been informed by a thorough scientific investigation and analysis. This by no means undervalue comments considered fitting to be part of the new precise blueprint.
The need for coordinated actions that impact on the determinants or drivers of NCD's epidemic, such as education, employment, housing, income, access to health care, to name but a few, rather than focusing solely on the lifestyle approach.
The new National Integrated Policy and Action Plan for the prevention of NCD aims to mitigate the country's morbidity and mortality rates and contribute significantly to the attainment of the MDGs by 2015. Babukar Kamara, GRTS.
The Disaster Governing Council and personnel of the National Disaster Management Agency have wrapped up their assessment tour of structural interventions implemented in the wake of last year's devastating flash floods, with a visit to disaster-prone areas in the capital city Banjul. Ibrahim Ajata was with the tour party and he now reports.
The capital city of Banjul, city dwellers are relishing a whole new era, devoid of the problems of the past. Open canals and running drains have significantly reduced the impact of flash floods, which used to wreak considerable havoc on the city.
We started before the rains. We make sure that we have contractors from the ministry, and they did the excavation for the canal so that water will flow during the rains. So then we take it up as ourselves, and the council and the community at community level, so that we can excavate the drains in Banjul. All the drains were done before the rainy season.
Now all the drains are open, running freely.
All of them are running freely.
City dwellers are totally appreciative of interventions which have relieved a predicament that has been affecting Banjul for many decades. The city's main difficulty in essence has for long been the inefficacy of the drainage system, a problem accelerated by the colossal amounts of domestic waste which used to prevent the free flow of water. Now, in the face of vital interventions, the impression of beneficiaries amply underline the fulfillment of a great need.
Well, the communities can tell us better, those living around, whether our interventions have real positive impacts.
A complete spin from the former spectacle of the city was how Mayor Samba Fall described the intervention to mitigate the effect of torrential downpours. But what is expected of communities after such successful mitigation schemes?
If people live responsibly, then obviously this intervention would be effective. One, I think all these drains, most of them, over 90% of the drains have been unblocked. And we have seen that most of it were waste that have been dumped by who? The people. So if the people adopt this concept of responsible living, not dumping inside the waste, taking their full responsibility to clean up the drains, so obviously you will have the intervention will be more sustainable.
The city is now sparkling with canals and drains, looking spick and span. Authorities are, however, warning against activities they say may just as well render the interventions meaningless.
When it rains, obviously, you come to Banjul, you will be scared, obviously, when it is raining, because there is water all over because of the nature of the city. But immediately the rain stops, 30 minutes or so, all the water is gone. And before
the city dries up.
Yeah, dries up. And before that wasn't happening, you know, and that was why we were having all these complaints, thanks to the intervention of the NDMA and the communities.
The Disaster Governing Council and Torpari later proceeded to a site in Talinding where the creation of a concrete barrier by road constructors is generating just the situation to stimulate floods. Officials are looking to redress the problem by engaging the contractor to alter his plan in order to ensure that water does not flow into the surrounding compounds. Ibrahim Ajata, GRTS.
They are responsible for the upkeep of the mosque at the official residence of the head of state, but they too are actively taking part in the national drive towards food self-sufficiency. Members of the State House Mosque Committee on Saturday returned to their Yundum Barracks Beans farm for a weeding exercise. Naibusa reports.
The committee has also joined in the clarion call made by the President for Gambians to return back to the land.
Without famine, you cannot have food self-sufficiency. Under our President, His Excellency Professor Dr. Alhaji Eje Jammeh, he used to lament on, we have to feed it from what we grow. And we cannot do that without going on the farm. If fatally your feeding is with somebody, that means you become a slave to that person.
And according to Usei Jallo of the Saro Women Association, an